Remember when these images were in magazines asking for us to help kids in foreign lands? Americans stood up. I mean, there was a time when the U.S. was the world leader, meaning we led the world in industry, democracy, education, technology, and compassion. But now, we lead the world in putz, as in, that's what we are.
Everybody's laughing at America.
I don't want to disagree, but that laughter has turned into real disdain. Why? Well, I'll get to that in a second. But first, have you subscribed to Really American? Hey, we work hard for you. Just click, it's free. And if you have subscribed, you probably noticed an extra little tingle in your step and an overall happiness. Although any extreme happiness lasting more than 4 hours, you should see a doctor. So what happened to America? Well, it's happening now. Americans have always been generous, whether it's a typhoon in Indonesia or an earthquake in India or starving children in Africa, people turn to us. And that felt good. Remember the Peace Corps? Kids used to do that. They would take a year off after high school and go to some country with no electricity, running water, or established infrastructure, like Mississippi. But now, over the last 10 years, we've been taken over by pencil dicks like this hump.
America is for Americans and Americans only.
So now this president, who calls these nations shithole countries, has joined forces with Elon the billionaire and their fucked up take on pain and suffering, and now they're telling the rest of the world they're on their own. Doge cut off foreign aid to countries ravaged by everything from the effects of climate change to famines to civil wars. And it's bad out there, but there's hope. You see, Trump's blanket freeze on foreign aid programs has been halted by a federal judge who slammed Donnie Diaper's failure to adequately weigh the devastation its effects could have on the whole world, as well as American interests there as well. The district judge ruled that the 90-day freeze on aid issued by Tiny Finger's executive order was an illegal overreach. He also ordered Trump to reinstate funding for the foreign aid contractors, many of which have had to cut programs, trim employees, or cease operations altogether. All of these programs have been approved by Congress and represent a dramatic shift in who we really are. But there is a problem, and we'll get to that in a second. But first, how much do these countries depend on our aid? Not just the aid that makes their lives more comfortable, but aid that will save hundreds of thousands of lives. And most notably, those lives are children.
It is potentially, not just in Gaza, but around the world, a series of decisions that could have profound consequences on the well-being of so many people. Security, infrastructure, health, vaccination, so much of what you and your previous guests were just discussing, that is currently frozen, and that could have significant, severe consequences. The executive order that the White House just put out a couple of days ago said that so much of the foreign aid infrastructure and bureaucracy is not aligned with American interests. We also heard from the new spokesperson for the State Department, Tammy Bruce, saying just a few days ago that the United States is no longer going to blindly dole out money with no return for the American people. Another country that did not get an exception, Ukraine. Of course, they're getting all kinds of military aid, but also billions in humanitarian aid that is critical, help for their infrastructure, for electricity, for schools, on and on. PEPFAR is a name that is known to so many in our audience. It's a highly successful program that was started under George W. Bush to help people around the world with HIV/AIDS, saving some 25 million lives. Assistance for the PEPFAR program has also been put on hold.
So these America First bigots love to make up stats. So let's review the facts. Myth number one, America spends too much on foreign aid. Well, opinion polls consistently report that Americans believe foreign aid is in the range of 25% of the federal budget. When asked how much it should be, they say 10%. Well, in fact, we spend about $30 billion a year for foreign assistance, and that's less than 1% of the federal budget. Myth number two, other countries don't do their fair share. Well, the U.S. provides more assistance than any other country, and as the world's wealthiest nation, that's appropriate. And there is a broad international consensus that wealthy countries should provide annually about 0.7% of their GNP to assist poorer countries. Now, 5 countries, Norway, Sweden, Luxembourg, Denmark, and the U.K., exceed that benchmark. The average for all wealthy nations around the world is 0.4%. The U.S., we're at 0.2. Myth number 3, foreign aid is wasted, inefficient, and produces no concrete results. Well, there is hard evidence that development and humanitarian programs produce considerable results. The U.S. assistance in global development is impressive, and the results include this. Extreme poverty has fallen dramatically over the last 30 years, from 1.9 billion people in 1990 to 736 million. That's a 10% drop. Maternal, infant, and child mortality rates have been cut in half. Life expectancy globally rose from 65 years in 1990 to 72 in 2017. Smallpox has been defeated and polio has been eliminated in all but 2 countries. Sorry, RFK. Deaths from malaria cut in half from 2000 to 2017. The U.S. PEPFAR program has saved 17 million lives from HIV and enabled 2.4 million babies to be born without AIDS. But here's what worries me. Even though a federal judge has said that Trump must resume the aid, will he? If Trump does, as he's indicated he might, and refuses to follow the judge's order, the U.S. will have a constitutional crisis. But these kids in Africa and Asia, well, they'll have a crisis of much greater proportions. Apparently, Trump's idea of making us great means making others dead.
Well, he is a dick.
Damn right.
I'm as mad as hell.
That's a good one.
Whether the women like it or not.
Suck my fat one.
And this guy's personal life is a total disaster.
Trust me.
Shut the f*** up, Darren.
Who's with me?
Oh, yeah, the lie.
Indictable.
Out of sheer morbid curiosity, I'm allowing this freak show to continue.
I don't want to talk about this stuff.
Am I wrong?
Yes!
Tick-tock!
You're in a lot of trouble, Donnie.
I think he's crazy.
I'm Chip Franklin.